It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by AgileDad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. Many of you know that I'm a man of faith, and in one of my faith related callings, if you will, I had an opportunity to present to a group of men. Now, while I was presenting to this group of men, we had a subject and we had a topic we were discussing, and many of the examples came up, and the examples were all, so I was like, share an example where you did an act of service, or share an example where you did something above and beyond. And I was getting a lot of feedback, a lot of participation, but the participation was, well, when I was 17 or back, 20 years ago, or, back when I was 20. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, these are all great. But what I noticed was a trend that none of these things were recent. So I thought I'd do a Friday, agile, not so agile episode about what have you done for me lately? Now, when I say me, I'm not talking about me personally, but what have you done to uplift someone else lately? That's the question. And I feel like sometimes we only look to serve when we have a need. I know that sounds weird, but sometimes when we have a need, when we have something that we want, we say, well, in order for us to get something, we have to give something. So we look for opportunities to serve when we have a greatest need, instead of looking for opportunities to serve when someone else might have a greatest need. And I think that it's just important for us to understand, how do we program ourselves better to be more open-minded about serving others? And how do we build these recent events, and why are they important? So, starting with the programming part, I think a big part of it is we just have to accept the fact that I hear so many people say, I just don't have time. I don't have time to do X. I don't have time to do Y. And what I've learned is that if you create the time or build in the time, that the time will come back to you at least onefold, if not twofold or threefold. That if you find a way to architect the time into your schedule and say, okay, I'm going to spend an afternoon serving soup at a soup kitchen or whatever the case may be. It doesn't even need to be for a long time. The point I'm trying to make is, if you carve out the time and architect the time into your schedule, you're going to be rewarded with that time back in some other fashion. Now, the other piece that I find interesting is I hear people who often say, well, I don't even have time to spend time with my family. And my question becomes, what have you done to build the concept of spending time with your family? Have you built in time to your calendar? Have you done the things necessary in order for you to set aside that time? Are you personally growing relationships? Or are you just focused on the one great vacation you had 8 years ago? Man, that was a good time. And, hoping that the rest of your family relationships will build off of that one experience. I just think it's so important for people to find ways to architect their calendars so that they can be more effective at collaborating and communicating with those people that they love, so that they in turn can have great experiences. And I think that all these things go together. I don't think they're separate. I think that although we may spend time trying to figure out some of those more than the other, I do think that we can get to where we need to be. But then the question becomes, why? Why are we doing this? And what motivates us? What drives us? And I think that if the drive is to leave an impression on our peers as an example of just how good of a person we are, then you're doing this for the wrong reasons. You're not even in it for the right thing. And if you're not in it for the right reasons, I got news for you. The results you get are not going to be what you expect. So I'm going to say that again. If you're doing this for the wrong reasons, the results you get are not going to be what you expect. You need to come in with an attitude of, what can I do that's going to have the biggest impact? And how can I do it in such a way that even if no one sees me doing it, that I'll feel good about what I'm doing? That I know that through this service, I'm being a better person and I'm helping uplift someone else. And I think that too often we come in with half the story, or we come in with part of the story, or we come in with a preconceived concept of what we believe to be true, when in actuality, we haven't dove all the way in and understand all the details. And I think that a big part of us being able to serve others is having ourselves be in a good place or a good position to be able to do it. And that is not always easy. Sometimes that part alone can be overwhelming. It can be consuming. It can feel dangerous or scary. And I think that if we figure out what it is that motivates us, what it is that drives us, and leverage that as a tool to help us help others, it's going to put us in a place where we'll have a more recent experience and we'll desire to do more. We'll desire to have those recent experiences. We'll desire to extend ourselves just a little more. And whether it's, I can tell you one right here, right out of the gate. So I have an opportunity to attend a Scrum gathering in New Orleans, and a friend that I haven't spoken to in many years. Well, I shouldn't say I haven't spoken to. I've pinged him on text through Messenger on Facebook and things like that. But this is a person I haven't seen probably, oh wow, since I was in 7th grade. So we're talking a long time ago. And I let him know that I was going to be in town. And first thing he said, "Hey, how you getting back from the airport?" It was just really interesting to see that someone that I haven't talked to in so long was still thoughtful enough to say, "Let me serve you. And not only let me take you from the airport, but let's stop at one of my restaurants and have lunch." I just thought that was, or dinner, I thought that was an incredible thing, right? And I think that when we look for those opportunities and we carve out those opportunities, it's going to help us to live the life that we want to live, a more fulfilled life. But it's also going to help us so we're never in a scenario where we have to talk about things from the ancient past. It's going to put us in a place where we can talk about things that inspire us and uplift us. And it's going to help us be a better person today and forever. But more importantly, you're going to help build the lives of others. And I think that's where we really need to be. That's going to do it for this episode. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Until next week, I encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.